your videos and sound are muted. It is true, we're in a webinar setting, so you can see the panelists, but we can't see you. We are going to get started now. Just waiting for the last couple folks to get brought in. My name is Molly DeMarco. I'm here at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. I help lead our SnapEd Toolkit team, along with team members Claire Zadigzadeh, Tracy Wesley, and Justine McFarland. I'll be introducing Julia in just a moment. A couple of housekeeping things. This is being recorded, so we will post that for y'all on the SnapEd Toolkit website. So you'll be able to get that, share it with others. We also have live captioning, the transcript enabled. There's information in the chat about how to turn that on, but you can turn that on so you can follow along listening and reading. Let's see, other housekeeping is that please put your questions in the Q&A and we'll answer either within the Q&A or orally when we get to the last about 15 minutes of our session today. We can move on to the next slide, Claire. So we're going to be spending time together today debuting a list of sources that were specifically curated to help y'all deliver content and engage with community members online. So the next slide shows what we will be covering today. You can go to the next slide, Claire. And what we won't. So we're going over general resources for navigating the different platforms that y'all could use, why you would choose one over the other, and how to get started. And also best practices for planning for access needs for participants. So really, like we said in the title, nuts and bolts. We're not today going to be covering things around, best practices with participant engagement or how to adapt in-person interventions for online delivery, or about evaluating any of this. This is purely pretty basic how to do it. We will be sharing questions that you have. I know a lot of you submitted questions, and thank you for doing that. We'll share those questions and any that you asked today that are not within the realm of what we're talking about today to FNS. And also back to the ASNA team, because we are looking at doing other of these open forums and addressing questions that y'all really need answers to. So stay tuned for that. You can go to the next slide. I do want to direct y'all to our existing resources on the SnapEd Toolkit website, and the links are here. So we did a series of 3 webinars that many of you participated in. We did those with SnapEd Connection, and they're all linked on our website. We also have culled out the evidence-based interventions from our toolkit that are peer-reviewed and developed for online delivery, and there's the website for that. And then we've also been curating a list of other online resources, how-tos, help resources for you for going online as well. They're separated into 4 different topics: nutrition, physical activity, family, and community. And there's the list for those as well. We can go to the next. Okay, so what we have for you today is we're going to be giving you a tour of the tools that we've curated, and we'll go on to the SnapEd Toolkit website along with the other resources. Giving you some tips for planning for accessibility for your participants. And then we're going to demo some things for y'all. And we'll end up with some Q&A. So that is where we're headed. I noticed there are some questions in chat, and we'll get to those in just a moment, or Claire or Tracy or someone might answer them. I am going to move on to the next slide and introduce Julia Kimmel. She is the communications specialist where we're based here at UNC Chapel Hill at the Center for Health Promotion and Disease Prevention. She's been the one really spearheading putting all these resources together for y'all, and she's going to take us on a tour. Julia, ready?
Hi, everyone. Let me see if I can turn my camera on and also share my screen. Okay, so you should be able to see now the SnapEd Toolkit website. So first, I just want to show you guys where these new resources are located. We've put them under this Training and Resources tab. So if you click on that tab, they are at the bottom of the list, Tools for Online Education Delivery. So this is what that page looks like. And we've put all the tools that are in this section on the same page. So you can see this is the whole page. So the way that we fit everything on here is by using these tabs, which are called accordion tabs. So I'll just show you an example. An accordion tab, if you click on it, it will expand, and then you can click on it again to make it contract. So for example, within this tab, if I click on it to make it expand, you can see there's some introductory material explaining what these particular resources are. And then there's a table. So all of the resources or tutorials for how to do these things with social media and other platforms are within these tables. And so there's a title for what the tutorial is. In some cases, it tells you if there are any tools or technology that are needed. And then there's a description for what the tutorial covers. So I'll just show you this first one, for example. If I click on it, there's a link. So it's going to open in a new tab, and it's going to open this video tutorial. So let me close that. Actually, let me hide this meeting control so it will let me close it. So that's kind of the gist of how this page functions. There's some overall organization. Within that organization, there are these expandable accordion tabs. And then within the tabs, there's sometimes some background information, and then the actual tutorials or resources themselves are going to be within these tables. So let me close this tab so that I can go back up to the top and give you an idea of how this page is organized and what's on here. So at the top here, we just have some introductory information, mostly about why these tools might be useful to you. Obviously with the COVID-19 pandemic, but also in general, with the increase in the use of social media platforms and other similar platforms, programming can be delivered virtually. So these tools are some resources or tutorials that can help you do that. I will point out there's some information right here about when this page was last updated. So it says the resources in this guide were current as of October 2020. So the reason that's on there, of course, is that social media and other technological platforms often change. They're always trying to improve or add new features or things like that. So it is possible that as time goes on, some of these resources, you might watch a tutorial on something on Facebook, and 6 months from now, it might look just a little bit different. So that's just something to keep in mind. The next section here is about accessibility. So we've tried to really thread in some accessibility considerations throughout these guides. And this information just kind of explains why that might be useful or important. So obviously, accessibility is important for people with disabilities, people who are deaf or hard of hearing, people who are blind or vision impaired. Accessibility features and measures taken to improve accessibility can help those people access information that they might otherwise not be able to access. but actually accessibility can be important and useful for everyone. So for example, captions are just one example of a feature that can improve accessibility. So captions can help people who are deaf or hard of hearing to access content, but they also can be useful for just about anyone. You might have a hearing person who could hear the content, but they're in a loud environment, and so they won't be able to hear it unless they can watch the captions. You might just have people who prefer to watch a video with the sound off for whatever reason. Maybe they don't want to disturb someone else in their household. People with cognitive or learning disabilities might absorb that information better by reading it. People whose first language is a language other than English might better understand content if they have captions that they can read. And really anyone who learns in any kind of visual way might be helped by captions in terms of better understanding content or even just reinforcing content that they're hearing. So throughout this guide, you'll see notes about accessibility and ways to incorporate accessibility practices when you're using these guides. So after those introductory paragraphs, we've got two main sections on this page. There's the quick start guides, and then there are the step-by-step guides. So the quick start guides are really they're really about if you just want to jump in and create a video. So most of this content is about creating and sharing videos. So the quick start guides are going to give you some basic tools to just jump in with content that you already have and create a video from it. So under these quick start guides, there's two sections. The first section is about pre-recorded videos. So you kind of have two options with videos. You can record a video ahead of time, and that gives you the opportunity to edit the video, work on it for as much or as little time as you want. You don't have to do it at a set time. You can add captions to the video before you share it, which makes a pre-recorded video possibly better for accessibility. So pre-recorded video is one of your options. The other option is to host a live video broadcast. So as opposed to pre-recorded videos, the advantages of a live video broadcast mostly have to do with engagement. If you have a pre-recorded video, you don't necessarily have a way to interact with participants in real time. Whereas if you host a live video broadcast, you can interact with participants while you're doing the broadcast. And so that might allow you to tailor the content that you're delivering. It might be more interesting and engaging for your participants. Those are kind of the advantages of a live video broadcast. And so you've got these two choices here. And I'm basically just going to give you an overview of what's under each of these sections. So in the pre-recorded video section, you've got three tabs here. One is about how to record a video. So how to create a video, really just with some very basic tools. And I'll go ahead and open that one so that you can see what's under this tab here. So I think I saw a question in the Q&A about video equipment or lighting equipment. This guide doesn't really touch on that. This is to help you get started with the most basic equipment that you have available. So like a camera that's built into your computer, a webcam that you might have that's a USB webcam that plugs into your computer, or a phone. And so within this section about how to record a video, this just gives you the very basics for how to create a video if you don't already know how to do it with the tools that you have available. So for example, if you have a Windows computer with Windows 10 installed, you might not know that there is a camera app included with Windows 10 that can allow you to record a video directly to your computer. The same thing is true with Apple computers, although most people are probably more aware of it because Photo Booth is a pretty popular app. But if you have a Mac computer, there's also a tutorial for how to record a video on your Mac computer. And then on a phone, there are tutorials linked here for how to record a video on an iPhone and an iPad. And then there's a note about Android phones. Because Android phones are all slightly different, there aren't any tutorials linked here for how to use an Android phone. So if you have a phone, an Android phone with a camera on it, and you're not familiar with how to use the camera to record a video, you may still be able to find a tutorial. You just might have to look based on your particular model to see if there's information in the user manual or if there's some kind of tutorial for that particular model online. So that's basically, because this is the quick start guide, those are just the basics of how can I create a video. And in this case, we're talking about a video probably of yourself, maybe yourself talking like we're doing here, or maybe yourself demonstrating a skill. If you want to do a cooking video, you can film a cooking video with your computer's camera or with your phone's camera. So this just gives you an idea of how to get started on that. And then once you have that video that you've pre-recorded, what do you do with it? How do you share it? So we've got, there's obviously multiple options for how to share a video and where to share a video. But because this is a quick start guide, we've just got these two, I would say, like most popular options. So one is to share on YouTube and the other is to share on Facebook. So if I click on this share your video on YouTube tab and expand it, you can see that we've got several tutorials here. So in this case, and in a lot of these sections on this guide, you may not need to use all of these tutorials. So you can see that the first tutorial is just about how to create a YouTube account, which is also the same thing as a Google account. If you already have a Google account that you use for work, you can skip that tutorial. The same thing with how to create a channel. If your agency already has a YouTube channel, you can skip that tutorial. But if you don't have either of those things and it's something that you want to use, these tutorials can help you get started. So once you have a YouTube account and a YouTube channel, of course, the next thing you need to know is how to upload a video to YouTube. So this is a tutorial that shows you how to do that. And then there's also a tutorial for accessibility about how to add captions to your video. And I just want to do kind of a quick plug for YouTube captions. YouTube has automatically generated captions that it will create for you, and then you can go back in and edit them to make sure that they're accurate. So that's a great option for captions. And if you're uploading your video to YouTube and that's your intended way of sharing it, then YouTube's captioning feature is definitely what you want to use to create your captions. Let me close that and just show you that there are similar resources here for Facebook. How do I create a Facebook account and page if I don't have one? And then how do I upload a video to Facebook, add captions to it, and edit the captions? So that covers the pre-recorded video section of the resources. So what if you don't want to post a pre-recorded video? What if you want to host a live broadcast? So again, because there are multiple ways to do that. There's multiple platforms and multiple tools. Because this is a quick start guide, we've just listed the two that that may be the most popular or the most useful for reaching your audience. And those are Facebook and Zoom. And so some of these tabs you'll see, like this first one, comparing Facebook and Zoom. There's a table here, but this table doesn't actually contain any resources or links. It's just an informational table. So if you want to host a live video, Facebook and Zoom are two of your options. How do you know which one you want to use? So this table gives you some ways to compare Facebook and Zoom so that you can decide which one would be best for your particular situation. And you can see here there's a row with information about accessibility within both of those platforms. So I'll close that tab. And then, you know, these next two tabs are about how do I actually do it? If I decide I want to use Facebook Live to host a live broadcast, how do I do that? And the same thing with a Zoom meeting. And then once again, you'll see a lot of times there's some duplicate information within these tabs because we don't, if you're just trying to do one thing, we don't want you to have to click all around the page to find the information that you need. So if you're doing Facebook Live, there is, once again, this information here about how to create a Facebook account and how to create a Facebook page. And then there's tutorials about how to do Facebook Live. So there's multiple tutorials about that, but again, these basically just give you options. So the first one is about how to go live from a computer, a desktop or a laptop. And then the next one is how to do it from a phone. And then there's some additional features that you might want a tutorial on to learn how to use these features. So for example, what if you want to do a Facebook Live with multiple presenters? There's a way to do that. There's a way to add live captions to your Facebook Live streams. There's a way to do screen sharing within Facebook Live. And then this is also just a tip if you're doing screen sharing with a PowerPoint presentation, because that can sometimes get tricky if your PowerPoint presentation is full screen, but you're trying to share your screen, but also kind of bounce back and forth between the PowerPoint and the Facebook Live interface. There's just a tip here for how to do that from PowerPoint so that that makes it a little bit easier. And then similar for a Zoom meeting, I'm not really going to go into this, but all the basics of how can you host a Zoom meeting and how can you interact with your participants in a Zoom meeting. And then this is additional information. This only works, and it tells you right here, this only works if you happen to have a paid Zoom subscription. But we just didn't want to leave out the fact that you can combine these tools. If you like the format for Zoom and all the different tools that it has within it, and you have a paid subscription, you can use Zoom to stream to Facebook Live or to YouTube Live. So there's instructions for how to do that, but it does require having a paid Zoom account. So next on this page, after we get through the quick start guides, are the step-by-step guides. So the step-by-step guides have some more detailed information, but they are also, as the title says, they're step-by-step. So they're designed to give you more details, but also to take you through a process with thinking about online education, if that's something that you want to do. So I'll just show you the 4 steps really quickly and then show you a little bit about what's in each of them. So step 1 is about how to plan an online education strategy. That can be useful if you're just getting started with going virtual. It can also be useful if you've been doing virtual education for a few years and you just want to kind of rethink what are your goals, how do you reach the people that you're trying to reach. So if that kind of reflection or planning sounds like something that would be useful to you, there are some resources in here for how to do that. So,
Hey, Julia,
yeah.
we have a number of questions coming in that we thought it might be good for you to maybe take now because they're very pertinent to what you're saying.
That sounds good.
So you already addressed the one about specific equipment, at least that we're not giving any suggestions around that exactly. Can you say anything about using YouTube captions? Can you select a language other than English with YouTube captioning?
You can. You definitely can. If you're, YouTube has a whole list of languages that it gives you the option to select. If your video was recorded in a language other than English, then that is definitely what you want to use. You want to select the language it was recorded in, and it will auto transcribe those captions, and then you can edit them. I have not tested that feature out with a different language, so I can't speak to how accurate the auto captions are, but it is possible and it's the same process. If someone is asking about translation, for example, if you recorded a video in English, but you want to add Spanish subtitles to your video or Spanish captions, I don't know. So we didn't add that to the guide and I didn't really look into it. There may be a way to do that in YouTube. And if that's something you need, it's worth looking into to see if there's information out there about that. But it's not something that we covered.
Thanks, Julia. How about, can you record a video using Zoom with the caption showing?
That's a great question. So that's a great question. It depends on a few different things. If you have there's two different kinds of recording in Zoom. There's cloud recording and local recording. Cloud recording is only available with a paid account, but it does automatically, whether you enable captions, like live captions during your meeting or not, cloud recording does create a transcript, which could be used for captions. I don't know, I feel like this is a tricky question because it seems like what people might want from that is to be able to create a video in Zoom with the auto caption feature on, and then you know, record with those auto captions, and then basically you just have your captions available. I don't think that there's a way to do that, but it's something that we can look into. It's something that you might want to take a look at if it's something that might be worth looking into. The other thing about captions is that Zoom only recently added this auto captioning feature, like a live auto captioning feature. For a while, they've had captions where you can hire someone to type captions for you, but the automatic captions are a new feature. And they don't have a lot of documentation about them on their website. So based on what I know right now, I would recommend, if you're comfortable with Zoom, Zoom is a great way to record the video, like a screencast. You know, you can speak and you can share your screen at the same time. And then I would upload it to either YouTube or Facebook, and I would use their auto captioning tool to add captions and then edit those captions to make them accurate. I think that that's, even if your Zoom captions, even if you could export them, let's say to YouTube, I think that YouTube captions are probably going to be just about the same in terms of accuracy. So I'm sorry, I feel like this is a really long answer. It's possible that you may be able to do that. I'm not sure how much benefit it would be. I would say if you want to record a video in Zoom, that's a great way to do it. I would upload it to YouTube or Facebook if you prefer Facebook, and use their captioning feature to create the captions.
Thanks, Julia. Maybe an easier one. Do participants need to have a Facebook account to view a Facebook Live presentation?
That is a great question.
I can also speak to that one.
That would be great to see.
So they don't need their own Facebook account. They just need the link to the page.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
Thanks, Justine.
That was my impression, but I wasn't positive about that. And I would also say there's information in here. It's something like maybe 70-ish% of American adults have a Facebook account. So depending on who you're trying to target, that's not a guarantee, but chances are at least some of your participants probably do have a Facebook account, but it's good to know that they don't have to have one to watch the video.
Here's a similar question, Julia. Can people watch a live Zoom video if they don't have a paid Zoom account?
Absolutely. So in order to view in order to join a Zoom meeting or a webinar like we're in right now, you don't have to have any kind of Zoom account. You don't even have to download anything in order to view it. You can view it straight from an internet browser like Google Chrome or Firefox. There are some more advanced features that don't work in Chrome or Firefox. And sometimes Zoom will kind of try to say, do you want to download the app to your computer or to your phone? But it's not necessary. People don't need an account. They don't need special software in order to join a Zoom meeting.
I'm going to turn you back to finishing your tour, Julia, and we'll work on questions again at the end. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. I think that my screen is still shared. So yeah, so this step-by-step guide, the first part draws on this method that comes from a particular book, and it's called the POST method. And POST stands for People, Objectives, Strategies, and Technology. So it's just a method for thinking through who's your audience, what people are you trying to reach, what are your objectives? And so once you've answered those two questions, you know, who's your audience and what are your objectives, which might mean what do you want them to learn or to accomplish, that can then help you think through the next step, which is strategies. What kinds of online education can you use? What resources do you have to put that online education together? And then the interesting thing, or kind of the trick about the POST strategy, is that it puts technology at the end. So the idea is that a lot of us, when it comes to these tools like social media platforms, we tend to think about the technology first because the technology is interesting, it might be new, we're trying to figure out what can it do, what can it not do. But in some cases, it might be more useful to flip it around and think about your audience and your goals before you think about the technology, because thinking through what you're really trying to accomplish and who you're trying to reach might make a difference in what kind of technology you actually want to use or how you want to use it. So that's just a method for coming up with an online education strategy. And then the next step is, once you've thought through those things, how do you choose your technology? How do you choose your platform where you're going to reach your participants? And it may be that you want to use more than one platform. That's what a lot of people end up doing. It may be that you want to focus on one particular platform and use another platform just sort of as a supplement to the main platform that you're using. So this step is really helping you think about what platforms are available and which one is going to work for you, what's going to work for your audience and your goals. So most of this page, most of these guides are about tools that are on social media or video conferencing platforms like Zoom. But something that we just didn't want to leave out is a kind of a good old-fashioned, maybe not old-fashioned, but just a website. So this first section here kind of gives you some information about what's the difference between a website and social media. You know, if you have videos that you're looking to share with an audience, what's the difference between putting them on a website versus putting them on social media? And this isn't to say that you should choose one or the other, that you should only put your content on a website or only put it on social media. A lot of times it's going to make sense to use both, especially if you already have both. But it's just something to think about. Social media might be the place where it's easier to reach your participants because they're already there. But a website might give you more flexibility in terms of how you organize your content. If you have a series of videos, you might be able to organize them on YouTube, but on a website, you could also put some background information around them. You could link to a PDF, things like that. So it's just something to think about. Which of those two tools or both, or are both of those tools going to be useful for you? And then the next section under this choose a platform section is about the different social media platforms. So if you are thinking about using a social media platform, how do you decide which one is right for your audience or your content? And I'll just note there are a lot of different social media platforms, and in this section we've really only touched on 3, and we've tried to touch on the ones that are the most popular and that also have at least some accessibility features. So those are Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. So there's information here that compares these 3 platforms in a variety of on a variety of topics. So there's demographics. Facebook is really people of all ages are using Facebook, but Instagram really skews towards young people. If you're trying to target seniors, only 8% of seniors are on Instagram, whereas 46% are on Facebook. So something like that might be useful to take into consideration. It gives you an idea of what each site does, and then also just what are some of the limits on the content that you post. Is there a character limit? Is there a limit on the length of the videos? So that might help you decide which platform is best for you. And then similarly, we've really only covered one video conferencing platform, and that's not to say that it's the best one, and it's definitely not the only one. Zoom just happens to be one of the most popular video conferencing platforms, and it also has features that could be particularly useful. For example, free accounts, a way to require registration from your participants so that you can gather information, captioning, things like that.
Julia?
Yes.
I'm just giving you the heads up about us doing a tour or doing a demo.
Yeah, so we're coming up on time. So let me just really quickly show you what's in these other 2 sections. So basically, section 3 is all about how to create pre-recorded videos. So we already touched on that in the quick start guides, but this is just even more information. And so some of the additional information is how to create a video from a presentation. If you have a PowerPoint, did you know that you can simply convert it to an MP4 or a video file? You can add narration, save it as a video file, and you don't even have to use a camera if you don't want to. Similarly, there's some options out there like Adobe Spark, where you can simply upload photos and text to the app. It basically creates a short video for you that might be useful for giving people quick tips in a really engaging way, things like that. And then this last section is really the nuts and bolts. If you're going to use one of these platforms, what is it that you need to know? So I'll just open up one and then we'll do the demo. So for example, in Facebook, we've got some background information here about what you can do on Facebook, what Facebook is useful for. And then there's information about Facebook pages, Facebook groups, Facebook Live, and Facebook Analytics. And it looks like something got missed in an update, so I'm gonna have to fill that in. But in each of those sections, you can find the nuts and bolts, not for every single feature that's included in the platform, but for the main features that you might need to use to reach your audience. So we want to do a demonstration of a skill that's covered here. So we've got a poll. So if you can take this poll and let us know which of these options you'd like us to demo. Okay, so it looks like the most popular option was social media analytics. So let me pull up Facebook analytics. So Facebook analytics is basically what I plan to demo. So this is, I'm logged into Facebook, you can see, and just a quick note, something that may be useful to you. This is not my personal Facebook profile. This is a generic Facebook profile that was created with my work email account. So that's just something to think about if you're going to be running social media for work, is that you kind of have two options. You can link a Facebook page to your personal account, which may be useful. You know, if you're already logged into Facebook, then it's right there. Or you can create a separate work account if you just want to keep work and personal separate. So to get to analytics, I'm going to click on pages. And this is the page that we run for the Center for Health Promotion and Disease Prevention. And I'm just going to show you what the analytics look like, where to find them, and what you can learn from them. So to get to analytics, Facebook calls them insights. So on this left-hand side, if you scroll down, you'll see insights. Looks like it's taking a second to load. So this is the overview, or kind of the homepage of your insights. And it functions kind of like a dashboard. Up at the top here, well, first of all, you've got a menu here that shows you all the different sections for your insights or analytics. And then up at the top, you've got this drop-down menu where you can control what time period you're looking at. So it's right now it says the last 7 days. If I change it to the last 28 days, it gives me some broader information. So for each of these, in this sort of dashboard for each of these blocks, there's a little tooltip. There's this little eye in the upper right corner of each of these blocks. And if you hover over it, it'll tell you what each of these sections is actually telling you. So for example, this is the number of clicks on our page's contact info and call to action button, and it's telling me insufficient data. That doesn't bother me because I'm more looking for people interacting with our content. I don't really have a call to action button on our page, and I've put our contact info on there in case people want it, but it's not necessarily what I'm hoping people interact with. Page views, and this, I'll just kind of put a disclaimer out there also that these are not like the healthiest analytics. We focus right now more on our Twitter audience than we do our Facebook audience. So these may not be very exciting, but this will give you an idea of where to find analytics and what they look like and what they tell you. So page views over the past month, we've had 93. And it tells you, that's the number of times that your page has been viewed by people, both people who are logged into a Facebook account and people who are logged out. And it also, in a lot of these sections, it gives you kind of a change metric. How much have those numbers improved since the previous 28 days, or have they gone down since the previous 28 days? So in this case, we've got about 50% more page views than we had the previous 28 days. So that tells us that whatever we did this month, we're getting more engagement than we did for what we did last month. And then I won't go through all of these, but page likes is probably a good one. You want people to either like or follow your page, because that is how they're going to keep up with the content that you're sharing. So this just tells you how many new people have liked your page in the last 28 days, and has that improved over the previous 28 days. Post reach is another good one. Post engagement, videos, and page followers. So page likes and followers, those are very similar. People can either like or follow your page. If they like the page, that's information that's visible to their friends. If they follow the page, they're doing the same thing. They're still seeing your updates in their timeline, or in their newsfeed, excuse me, but it's just a little bit more private. It's not going to show up as something like to their friends as something that they have liked. So that's why these numbers are similar, 13 followers and 14 likes. So if you click on any of these sections, you can get more detailed information. So for example, if I click on post reach, up at the top here again, you've got this time window, so you can adjust this if you want to look at a different length of time. Facebook will always tell you organic versus paid. If you're not doing any kind of paid advertising on Facebook, you can kind of just ignore that distinction. We haven't been doing any, so all of this is what they call organic. So this is just showing you, over the past couple of months, or over the past month, I guess. So like this is October 21st back to like September 21st. How many people have been seeing your posts? And so that's kind of interesting to look at it over time. What I usually find more interesting is to compare your different posts. So let me go back. And so that's actually down underneath this top part of the dashboard. So right now it's showing my 5 most recent posts. And so I can look and see, among these 5 posts, like what got the most engagement. So I can tell kind of just at a glance, because it has these graphs, that this bottom one had the largest reach. This was about our annual staff meeting. And it also had some of the largest engagement numbers. So this interpretation is up here at the top. So the blue bar graph is post clicks, and then the purple graph is reactions, comments, and shares. So that's potentially useful information. Why people may be more interested in this staff meeting post, because it was about us personally. You know, we had pictures of people often perform very well on social media. So we included some screenshots of everyone in our staff meeting. Or it may be that it got shared a few times, and that's why it had such a higher reach. The other thing that that I really like in this main dashboard section is this pages to watch feature. So this actually lets you compare your page to other pages. And you can choose, you can click this add pages button, and then you can choose which pages you want to compare your page to. So because we're in public health, I've put the School of Public Health where we're located. Harvard School of Public Health has a really big Facebook presence, so I just kind of put them on there to see how do we stack up to their page, just kind of out of curiosity. And then a couple of our projects at the Center for Health Promotion and Disease Prevention are also on here. So this is kind of interesting because it just gives you an idea of what do these numbers mean in context. So, you know, your numbers might compare very, very differently to a Facebook page that is selling something, for example. So comparing your page to these pages that are putting out similar types of content can just kind of give you an idea of how you're doing compared to those other pages. And so if you see that, you know, for example, the School of Public Health had about 10 times the reach that we had, or sorry, they have about 10 times the page likes that we've had. And they have a lot more engagement than we did. So, you know, what's driving that? You know, we made 3 posts, they made 9 posts. If I see that they're doing particularly well, maybe I want to go look at their Facebook page and see what kind of content are they putting out and what kind of engagement are they getting on that content. So that can be helpful. And then one more, I'll show one more, and then if we have some questions, we should open up for questions. But so videos, I don't care about this ads access, so I'm going to collapse this. This is something that if you're posting video content, you're probably going to want to look at this, these video analytics. So we haven't posted videos on this page in a while. So in order to see some analytics, I'm going to have to do a custom date range and go back. Let's do last October to November. So now that I've got that custom date range, I can see some actual numbers for videos that we've posted. So I find it most useful to look at individual videos. So this is a video that we posted about a year ago. So if I click on the video or click on View More Insights, it can show me estimated reach, which is just how many people saw this post about the video. And then these video views will tell you how many of those people actually watched the video. So 3 seconds means, you know, they clicked on it, but then they clicked off. 10 seconds means they watched it for a little bit longer. And then if we, one of the most useful things here might be average video watch time. So on average, people watch this for 14 seconds. That's not bad, but they're not watching the whole content. And then audience retention is really going to give you an idea of, you know, these are the seconds of the video. This is how much of your audience was watching. So like at what point did they stop watching the video? So that's something that might be useful if you're trying to look at how well did a video perform on your page. So do we have some questions that we should answer?
Yeah, Julia, I'm going to give you a couple questions. We also have one last poll question we might could ask at the same time. It's a pretty easy question. But Julia, so Would you say that there is a secure platform that's best for programming with children?
It's not really something that's covered in the guide. And I think it depends. I think it depends on what you mean by secure. I would say that it's a good question. It's not something that I have a lot of good information about. It may be that yeah, it's not something that I have a lot of great information about.
It's fine. Well, if anyone on here has any ideas, we'd love to see the answers in the chat. I appreciate Sonia's question. I don't think Julia can help you with why only 30 of your friends respond.
Where was that?
Julia, one other question. If you were targeting a specific audience in Facebook, how would you go about doing that?
Yeah, so Facebook doesn't have features for targeting a specific audience unless you're actually doing a paid Facebook ad. If you're doing a paid Facebook ad, you can tell Facebook anything from, I want to target this particular geography, like this county or this state. I want to target people of this race or ethnicity, people of this gender. If you're not doing any kind of paid advertising, Facebook doesn't have features that where it has tools for targeting people. You can, I don't usually look at it, to be honest, but I think that you can see in these insights somewhere, there's something about kind of who your audience is. So in terms of who's liked your page or followed your page, you can get an idea of some information about them. I think if you're posting content on Facebook and you're trying to target it towards a specific group of people, most of your targeting is going to come in how you create your content and how you advertise your content. And you could, you could use that information about your audience. Sorry, I'm not remembering where it is, but it is something that should be pretty easy to look up. You could use that information about your audience to try and figure out if you are trying to create specific types of content, is it actually working? Are the people that you want to like and follow your page the people that actually are liking and following your page?
Thanks, Julia. I also really appreciate we're getting some good answers and suggestions in the chat as well from folks who've been doing this. Thank you. Wondering, I want to be mindful of time. I'm going to launch one last poll. I thought I was. Claire, can you see the other poll I put in? Are you able to launch that? Thanks.
Yeah, this is great information in the chat about what groups are doing, especially in terms of working with kids.
Thanks, y'all. We hear you. Looks like you could use more of this. We get that. I want to just go back to the slides. Do we want to just move on to the next slide and then wrap up? Check, check. Yeah, we want to just put you have the resources. We will make sure you have the slides and the recording. We will work on passing on some of these questions, and we appreciate that it sounds like y'all could use another chance to maybe ask us more questions. We planned on thinking about doing that anyway, so we would love to continue this. And thank you so much to those who asked questions, provided answers. Thanks to our team. Thank you, Julia, for pulling all of this together for us and leading us through. Well, if y'all, want to put in any other questions in the chat as we're ending this, we will make sure we grab them and pass them on and think about them for our next TA webinar. Thank you all so much for joining us.